Blessings from the beautiful land of the free and the home of the brave, from the kingdom of the Son of God in the San Gabriel Valley. And, you know, online, especially if you go to X, go to Rumble, the social media world in general, there's a lot of commentators talking about the Jays and different solutions are proposed in order to defeat world Zionism, to defeat it, to defeat Tikkun Olam, to prevent Tikkun Olam from being instituted. And I think what very few people are talking, no, there are people that mention this, but it's not really emphasized. And it's especially not mentioned among the more popular anti-Zionist commentators. You know, the Nick Fuenteses of the world and Adam Green, whatever. The key to defeating Zionism and world Jewry and returning our nation back to being free and sovereign, right, free of Judeo influence, is not in having a crusade. It's not in a revolution. And the key to defeating Zionism and the Judeo world order, it's simply to live virtuous lives. And that's not a popular thing, because even in this anti-Zionist movement that we see now on the right wing and in social media, some of it is anti-Christian, the Adam Greens of the world, other commentators, Handsome Truth, some of the white nationalists. Then there's others that are just like, they're so anti-Jewish, that's really what they're all about. But in order, if you want to defeat them, it's going to be done through virtuous living. That Christians, especially Americans, Westerners as a whole, they want to defeat world Jewry, then you live a righteous life. See, Judea has been able to conquer much of the Western world because men of the West have given into vice. The West has been strong for thousands of years because there was this culture of living honorably, being an honorable man, being a chaste woman. And now, all over the West, degeneracy has been embraced, has been normalized. And many of the anti-Zionist commentators, when they talk about defeating Zionism, I don't hear much of them talking about that we need to live virtuous lives. We just can't be so anti-Zionist and complain about the Jews all the time. We ourselves have to live honorable, virtuous lives, because it is that that gives you strength, and also doesn't enslave you to the vices that the Zionist, communist, Bolshevik Jews, and Zionist Jews have brought to the West and popularized pornography, psychology, sex education, hookup culture, sodomy, feminism. There's a lot of women right now that are anti-Zionist as well, but they're also feminist. Like, you're not going to defeat Zionism by playing in their swamp. Why? Because feminism is at its heart anti-family. Strong families are the backbone of any nation. In order to have strong families, you have to have the men of those families living honorably and virtuous. You have to have the women of those families being chaste and rejecting the vices of Jewry, which is what? Mammonism and hedonism. And there are people that do talk about that, living like that. There are commentators out there, Thomas Sewell of Australia, Peter Quinones. So there are people that do mention that. It's part of their solution program. But most are not. Most are doing, it's reactionary. But the key is to defeat. You want to defeat. You have to get back to living a virtuous life. All of us in the West. And I connect this with Christianity, because much of this anti-Zionist social media movement now is Christian. But they're not displaying virtuous character. Look at the Nick Fuentes of the world, the Groyper movement. Total degenerate, the way they talk, the way they act. And it's not even so much, now we do got to talk about the JQ. Got to expose it. That's part of it, big time, and the Bible teaches us to do stuff like that. But at the same time, that has to be like 25% of the fight. 75% is us living our own lives in virtue and honor, setting examples for those around us, so that when we do come with that 25% warning regarding the JQ, they'll listen. They'll be attracted to your character, and then it starts growing from there. Because if you had a good portion of our country reject vice, reject hookup culture, reject drugs, reject drinking and drunkenness, if you had that, and pornography and all this stuff, if you had that, I guarantee the influence of Judea would decrease exponentially. They thrive on the Gentiles being entrapped by vice. Because when you're entrapped by vice, you have no power to do anything. Your strength and resolve is depleted when you're entrapped by vice. So that's why a lot of these right-wing commentators, these right-wingers that are so anti-Zionist and so anti-J, well, if you're still dabbling in degeneracy and not living honorable lives, I mean, you have no will for the fight. And this is how we got to win. Men of the West have to return to virtuous living. In the Roman Empire, which was a magnificent empire, and in the Greek culture, living virtuous was of paramount importance among men, to be virtuous. That's the only way we're going to win. It's not going to be by crusade, not by revolution. It has to have that. That has to be the foundation of our fight against Tikkun Olam. Anyways, hail Christ, hail victory.